The showdown between the Department of Justice and a Trump-appointed federal judge in Florida is heating up. Late Friday night, the DOJ filed an appeal to override parts of Judge Eileen Cannon's order over documents seized by the FBI from Trump's Mar-a-Lago resort residence. Last week, Judge Cannon denied the DOJ's request to exclude classified documents from a special master's review of the materials taken, a special master requested by Trump. Now, I'm sure you've heard a lot about Judge Cannon, but let me give you a little background, a reminder. Back in 2020, then 38-year-old Cannon was confirmed to the bench after Trump had already lost the presidential election. At that time, Cannon, a card-carrying member of the right-wing Federalist Society, was a relatively juniorish and youngish lawyer. Now she'll serve out a lifetime appointment in Florida's Southern District, where she can continue to issue those pro-Trump rulings. And that's entirely by Donald Trump's and the GOP's design. During his 4 years in office, Trump appointed more than 200 federal judges as well as 3 Supreme Court justices. Many of these appointees had 2 things in common. They were relatively young and ultra conservative. Through the appointment of judges like Cannon, the former president, with the help of Mitch McConnell, the Federalist Society, and millions of dollars in dark money, effectively transformed our federal judiciary. So I have to ask, what are Democrats going to do about it? One Democrat who's been making a lot of noise on this issue is Rhode Island Senator Sheldon Whitehouse. Last week, he gave his 18th speech on the Senate floor, talking about the influence that dark money has had on our judiciary. And earlier, I had the chance to speak with Senator Whitehouse. Senator Whitehouse, thanks for joining me on the show tonight. What would you say to those who describe Judge Cannon's bizarre pro-Trump rulings so far as flawed, as biased, as partisan, as corrupt even?
Well, I think all of that is correct, and I'm glad that the Department of Justice is challenging it. I think it was wise of them to try to move forward under the judge's order in order to avoid loss of time, but at the same time appeal the more egregious portions of the order. If there's one thing that is executive branch, it is the Criminal Investigation Authority. And the idea of the judicial branch, particularly an appointee of the subject of the investigation, injecting herself into it to slow down or stop the investigative process is, I guess, unprecedented would be an easy word to use.
And, Senator, the reality is that we talk about Trump packing the Supreme Court with 3 justices, 2 of them in effectively stolen seats. But with Mitch McConnell's help, he packed the judiciary from top to bottom, more than 200 judges appointed, the same amount of appellate judges in 1 term as Barack Obama appointed in 2 terms. Isn't it the case that Trump could disappear tomorrow, and yet his judges will be producing ridiculous, reactionary, corrupt rulings for the next 30, 40, 50 years?
Yes. The plan to salt the courts with right-wing hacks and partisans has been very effectively deployed. But I would not give Trump too much credit for it. I think he was a passenger on that train.
Yes.
I think that train started long before he was president. And it looks like the people behind the scheme have spent over $500 million on this court-packing enterprise. So it is a big deal.
Let's talk about the Supreme Court. You did this great thread the other day breaking down how dark money groups are trying to get the Supreme Court to allow GOP state legislatures to basically overturn election results come 2024. You referred to the court that dark money built and years of packing extremists onto the court to build what you call an obedient supermajority. All true, all well said, Senator. My question is, what are you and your fellow Democrats willing to do to stop them? Why no endorsement even now of court expansion? I just don't get it.
Well, we have an array of reforms that we've already put out that are pretty strong in some cases. A lot of it's transparency, just bringing the court up to speed with the executive and legislative branches and their own lower courts. Some of it is a little bit stronger in terms of putting term limits on the judges. I think, like any good lawyer, you want to make your case before you ask for your extraordinary relief. And we have not yet, I don't think, fully made the case to the American public, although they're really listening now in the wake of the Dobbs decision, in the wake of the New York guns case, in the wake of the novel theories dropped on laws against polluters. So I wouldn't be surprised if there was more activity in that space soon. But you make your case first, and then you make your...
So why not make the case tonight? To the viewers on MSNBC, why not make the case for why the court should be expanded to rebalance the court? Why not make it personally as a Democratic senator, someone who's so passionate on this subject?
So the case would be this, that for several decades, big right-wing billionaires and their front groups have run through an array of front groups and through money into the Republican political system, a scheme to pick the judges, which was essentially confessed by Donald Trump and his White House counsel and others when they gave Federalist Society the right to pick the list of who would be on the court. And we believe that a guy named Leonard Leo actually made those choices. And his reward was just getting $1.6 billion dropped onto one of his front groups by, guess what, a right-wing billionaire.
Yes.
So there's more to the story than that, but those are some high points of how right-wing special interest dark money captured the court.
But forgive me, just to put you on the spot, yes or no, would you personally, Sheldon Whitehouse, support expanding the court?
I'm not going to get ahead of my skis here. My job is to put out the case for what has gone wrong at the court until the American public is ready to understand why extraordinary relief is required. You remember the Green New Deal? Great idea. But the rollout got botched so badly and we got so far ahead of our skis that Mitch McConnell was the person who called the Green New Deal vote in the Senate. We've got to roll out these ideas in an orderly and thoughtful way, and we've got to have the public with us because they're ultimately the judges. But once the public understands how this court was stolen from them, essentially in broad daylight by dark money, I think we'll have the public support to do a lot of things to clean it up.
And last quick question, 30 seconds left. I know you've criticized Judge Roberts for not holding, Justice John Roberts for not holding an investigation into Clarence Thomas's refusal to recuse himself from election cases, given his wife Ginny Thomas's role in trying to overturn it. When will the Senate Judiciary Committee hear from Ginny Thomas? Why not call her before your committee?
I think she's in negotiations right now with the January 6th committee, and those are public. And the January 6th committee has asked that nobody interfere with that instead of negotiations. So we're waiting to see the results of that before we take any further action.
Okay, fair enough. We will have to leave it there. We're out of time. Senator Sheldon Whitehouse, thank you so much for your time today. Appreciate it.
Thank you so much.